The exams are conducted twice a year and get an enriching knowledge in the field of apparel merchandising. And to do so, you can log on to the official website of the university, www.ignou.ac.in.
Namaskar, this is Dr. Satish Gaikwad from Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today, we will be having an overview of University Grants Commission minimum standards and procedures for the award of PhD degree regulations 2022. If we talk about the genesis of PhD program, as it is reported, Paris during the 11th century, firstly Prussia, they proposed in the 17th century that there should be central universities specifically meant for research educational degree called doctoral research degree should be instituted. And over the period, there were so many developments which changed the scenario of higher education, where lot of universities and higher educational institutions strived to develop the doctoral programs. If we talk about the development, Germany was the first country which made in the 17th century that doctoral degree should be terminal requirement for the teachers' positions in the higher educational institutions. Followed by the developments during the 17th to 18th century, the countries like Russia, Italy, they brought the changes to the higher education by replacing most of the higher educational requirements for some specialized employments, where higher educational degrees they were offering through diplomas. They replaced such degrees with doctoral degree. Further, over the period, many ideas were generated. Over the period, the process of management, maintenance, standards, quality emerged for the offer of PhD degree, and most of the European countries they strived for the development of standards and procedures for the award of PhD degree to maintain the quality of the degree. When we talk about India, India is nonetheless country which is also striving for the betterment of the higher educational institutions and for the betterment of the higher education. India is not behind the race. Most of the parts of the country, they are having good number of central universities and state universities, apart from the other private universities, which are mostly offering the degrees leading to the PhD program, award of PhD program. When we talk about the standards and maintenance of the quality, University Grants Commission, Government of India, is entrusted to look into the academic aspects, quality standards, examination methodologies, and all other activities for the monitoring, for the maintenance, and for the funding of higher educational institutions in India. Being regulatory body over the period in a monitored manner through the regulations, the University Grants Commission during the year 2009 first time issued University Grants Commission minimum standards and procedures for the award of MPhil and PhD degree regulations 2009. After that, the university several good development concerns emerged in the award process of award of PhD degree. So, University Grants Commission, through University Grants Commission's minimum standards and procedures for the award of PhD time, where the university got these regulations most of, and now we are having university and procedures for the award of PhD degree regulations 2022, which are currently in implementation in all the central universities, state universities, and other universities which are offering or deemed to be universities, institutions of national importance to offer PhD program. It is mandatory to all the higher educational institutions to follow the regulations of University Grants Commission to award any PhD degree. Begin with the minimum standards and procedures for offer of PhD degree regulations 2022. First, it talks about eligibility criteria, or it mentions what eligibility criteria should be to a candidate to be eligible to apply for PhD degree offered by any institution. Earlier, through 2009 regulations and 2016 regulations, it was already there that a candidate must have master's degree in the concerned discipline in which he or she wants to apply for PhD. However, in 2022 regulations, UGC has brought a new criteria too, where 1 year master's degree candidates with 55% marks or equivalent grade were also considered as eligible candidates, provided that they should have completed 4 years bachelor's degree with 75% of marks obtained in the 4 years bachelor degree. It means that a candidate must have 2 years master's degree or with 55% marks, or 1 year master's degree with 55% marks, provided 4 years bachelor degree with 75% marks. Apart from this, the candidates who have completed program, when we talk about the eligibility criteria and marks to be eligible, here University Grants Commission also looks after the empowerment of some socially marginalized category candidates, like the candidates who belongs to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward class, non-criminal layer candidates, candidates belonging to economically weaker section category. And to such candidates, the University Grants Commission gives the relaxation of 5% in the eligibility criteria. If we talk about the master's degree, if a candidate, when I said that 55% is the eligibility benchmark in the masters, there the candidates may avail 5% relaxation. Apart from this, same criteria will be also applicable to the bachelor's degree, where 75% marks requirement is mentioned. There also they may avail 5% relaxation, and also in the MPhil. Even candidates who might have obtained Master of Philosophy from foreign university, they will be eligible to apply for PhD program, subject to the certification of the validity of their degree by their respective assessment and accreditation bodies of the respective countries. This is about the eligibility criteria to be fulfilled by the candidate. Apart from this, recently in 2000 are changed to the admission criteria, which I will talk later. Apart from this, the University Grants Commission also emphasizes on other parameters of the monitoring, management and maintenance of the quality standards. The University Grants Commission also talks about the eligibility criteria to become a supervisor to supervise the PhD candidates' research work. The University Grants Commission defines that who shall be a eligible research supervisor to supervise the PhD work of a candidate. As per the definition of the eligible to supervise a PhD candidate. Also, an assistant professor with or refereed journal are also eligible to be a research supervisor. Here, when I am saying that the faculty should have papers published in the journal which are peer-reviewed or refereed journals, it means that such journals are having rigorous process for the publication of papers, where the paper submitted by a researcher is subjected to the review by some expert in that particular area of research or discipline. Further, the University Grants Commission also mentions that a research institute where a scientist who is equivalent to professor, associate professor, assistant professor having PhD degree, and such institution or research center is having all the research facilities, then the such research scientist may also be considered as a eligible research supervisor. Further, the University Grant Commission also mentions that what should be the number of PhD students at a time under a particular research supervisor. When we talking about number of PhD students under a particular research supervisor at a time, it means that definitely the regulatory body wants to maintain the quality standards of a research degree to avoid overcrowding and substandard output of any PhD research. A professor at a time may supervise 8 PhD candidates at a time. Means a supervisor, eligible research supervisor, a professor who is eligible research supervisor can take 8 PhD students at a time. He or she who is eligible supervisor may decide to not have any PhD research scholar under him or her to be a research student. Further, a associate professor who is eligible research supervisor may take 6 students at a time under his or her supervision. Further, any assistant professor who is the eligible research supervisor may take 4 research scholars under his or her research supervision. Again, this is not a compulsory. The purview of taking number of students at a time, even though there is a vacancy, is left with the concerned research supervisor. Apart from this, the University Grants Commission very categorically mentions that any eligible research supervisor recognized by that particular institution where they are working with are eligible to be supervisor with that institution only. It means that they cannot supervise the students outside their institution. However, the University Grants Commission mentions through its regulation that they can be co-supervise students outside their institution with the statutory approvals and proper procedures. Interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, outside the discipline, inside the discipline, and co-supervision outside the institution. Any eligible supervisor may take a student as a co-supervisor from same department, that is within the department, from outside the department, or from outside the institution. That is through proper procedure and following all the norms and as per the statutes and ordinances of that particular institution, which allows to do so, and along with the approval of the competent authority. Apart from this, the University Grants Commission also makes a provision that any supervisor, eligible supervisor at a time can have over and above, in addition to their existing vacancy or existing number of students working under them, 2 international students they can take under their supervision. Here, the concerned institution which is taking international students for PhD degree are given the decision making power. They have been given the freedom to lay down their own criteria to take such students, subject to the provisions of statutes, ordinance, and other provisions of the concerned regulatory bodies. While taking international students, the institutions also has to take care their degrees which are prerequisite to be eligible for the PhD admission should be duly assessed and accredited by the respective accreditation head. We discussed about the eligibility criteria of the candidates, eligibility criteria of the research supervisors to be PhD supervisor, the procedure for the PhD program as mentioned in the University Grants Commission's regulations mandates any higher educational institution to notify the information brochure or prospectus applicants through website, through newspaper, through the various modes. In such prospectus, the university has to give all the details, like the university has to mention how many vacancies under respective disciplines are available with the university. The university also has to mention the eligible names of the eligible research supervisors, criteria for admission, any syllabus required for the interview purpose, and all the other desired details pertaining to the PhD program and its admission processes. Once the institutions notify the prospectus and announces the vacancy for the admissions, the University Grants Commission also prescribes the way to take the admission of the PhD candidates or applicants. Earlier in 2012 regulation, it was mentioned that apart from eligibility of master's degree, the candidate who has cracked the UGC NET JRF with fellowship or CSIR NET JRF with fellowship, such candidates are directly eligible to appear for the interview of PhD admissions. Apart from this, any other normal category candidates who may be UGC NET without fellowship or without UGC NET having the master's degree as prescribed in the regulation may also apply for the PhD program, and such candidate may have to face the PhD admissions entrance examination conducted by that particular higher educational institution. Now, there are two eligible applicants for a particular seat. As I said, one candidate who is coming with UGC NET, CSIR NET, JRF qualification, that is with fellowship, and other candidate who is appearing in the entrance conducted by particular higher educational institution. Now, the candidates who have already qualified UGC or CSIR NET JRF with fellowship, they are directly eligible to appear in the interview conducted by higher educational institution. The other candidates without UGC JRF or CSIR JRF, they have to, as I said, qualify the PhD entrance, obtaining minimum 50% marks in the PhD entrance. Here also, in case of candidates belong to marginalized sections, as I mentioned earlier, maybe candidate belonging to scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward caste, non-creamy layer, differently abled category may avail 5% relaxation here too. It means they have to minimally obtain 45% marks in the PhD entrance. Now, a higher educational institution taking PhD admissions have two category of candidates with UGC. All the JRF candidates, they will be directly eligible, and the candidates who qualified the entrance with 55% of marks or marginalized section candidates with 45% of marks, they have to appear in the interview. The candidates who have qualified entrance, in their case, 70% of the weightage will be given to the marks obtained in the entrance, and whatever marks obtained in the interview they face, 30% weightage will be given. Here we will take a short break and we will resume our discussion on the UGC regulations for the award of PhD degree shortly.
In a nation driven by dreams, the National Education Policy of 2020 has emerged as a beacon of change, breaking down barriers to education and fostering inclusivity. The journey begins with early time of learning. NEP 2020 ensures that every child, regardless of background, has access to quality early childhood care and education. The policy is reshaping school education, emphasizing universal primary education and fostering on foundation skills. No child is left behind as NEP addresses the needs of economically disadvantaged groups. NEP recognizes the importance of diverse career options. By integrating vocational courses into the As we move into higher education, NEP envisions greater accessibility. New institutions are being established, particularly in underserved regions, promoting equitable opportunities for all aspiring minds. Embracing the digital era, NEP harnesses the power of technology. Online resources and interactive learning platforms bridge the rural-urban gap, making quality education accessible to learners irrespective of their location. In the spirit of inclusivity, the NEP 2020 stands as a testimony to a bright future. By unlocking the doors of education for every learner, we pave the way for a more equitable and knowledgeable society.
Discussion on the overview of the degree. As I mentioned earlier, when a candidate who qualified UGC JRF with fellowship and a candidate who has passed the entrance conducted by a higher educational institution taking PhD admissions, in case of JRF candidates, all the JRF candidates who applies for a particular discipline shall be eligible to appear in the interview. Whereas the candidates who qualified the entrance, their candidature is subjected to the laid down procedure by a particular institution. For example, as I already said, minimum passing is 50% and 45% for marginalized section. Apart from that, 70% weightage will be given to the marks obtained in the entrance and 30% weightage will be given to the marks obtained in the interview. For example, a institution may decide that they will call the number of non-JRF, non-fellowship candidates who qualified the entrance in 1:5 ratio. On the other side, the JRF candidate with that will be their merit. For example, out of 100, they get 70 marks or 70%. That will be their merit. And here, entrance candidate, 70% weightage to the entrance marks and 30% weightage to the marks obtained in the interview. That will become their merit. Now, both the candidates, they are standing at par in the merit. After conduction of the interview, the candidates' merit list will be made combinedly. Here, to prepare the merit list of admissions, University Grants Commission in the year 2006 brought the regulation for the proper implementation of reservation policy of Government of India in admissions to the higher degrees offered by the higher educational institutions. Also, the University Grants Commission has brought amendment to this regulation in the year 2012, where the University Grants Commission makes a binding to the higher educational institutions to follow the reservation policy of Government of India in its admissions also. It means as the Government of India gives the reservation to marginalized sections, a candidate belonging to scheduled caste category will be having 50% reservation. Scheduled tribe candidate will be having 7.5% reservation. Candidate belonging to other backward class non-creamy layer category will be having 27% reservation. The candidate who is differently able with benchmark as prescribed in the PWD Act 2016 by Government of India will be also having 5% reservation to admission. However, in case of differently abled candidates, the reservation shall be in their respective categories itself. It means they are not going to get any reservation beyond their category. For example, the candidate is competing in general category, then their seat will be adjusted in general category only. If that particular candidate who is differently able and getting the seat in merit has to be adjusted in their respective category if they belongs to some reserved category. For example, if a candidate belonging to scheduled caste category is also a differently able candidate and scheduled caste category itself. This is the another criteria which the higher educational institutions has to take care while preparing the merit list. Here, one more important thing is that when the higher educational institutions they are preparing their merit list, many of the faculty members or persons who are involved administratively in the selection procedure, they will be having some confusion about the preparation of merit list. When there, it doesn't mean that a candidate belonging to any reserve category like candidate belonging to SC, ST, OBC, economically weaker section category or differently able category are also may compel if a open category seat is making a cut-off percentage at 70% and any candidate who is belonging to marginalized section is getting the admission merit at 80%. As I said, your cut-off percentage is 70% and a candidate belonging to marginalized section is getting 80%, means he or she may obtain the opportunity to gain a seat in the open category. Such type of candidates are called own merit candidates. Apart from this, while preparing the merit, they may get adjusted in their respective categories when the merit is finalized. So, apart from this, the University Grant Commission also ensures the proper procedures to be followed in the admissions. When the admission process is completed, after that, post-admission norms are also set by the University Grants Commissions. As University Grants Commissions, minimum standard and procedure for the award of PhD degree regulation 2022 mentions that there should be a research advisory committee in the higher educational institutions meant to monitor each and every individual PhD student. Here, it is very important to mention that this research advisory committee or equivalent committee as recognized by the audiences and institutes of that particular higher educational institutions. For example, some institutional may have discipline-based group committee, or some institution may have discipline boards, or some institutions may be having doctoral research committees. Such bodies should time to time guide the student. They should assist the student in selection of the topic, in selection of the courses of their choices. Every student has to present their semester wise progress report, that is every 6 months they have to present their progress of research work before this research advisory committee. The research advisory committee may also suggest the research methodology to be carried out by the particular scholar, the PhD program. What UGC prescribes the duration of the PhD program. The minimum duration to be eligible to get a PhD degree by a PhD student is he or she has to complete minimum 3 years of satisfactory PhD work. It means that the PhD candidate should successfully present 3 years progress report before the research advisory committee. That is 3 years into 2, 6 progress report minimum, because every 6 months they have to present their progress report. In case the research advisory committee is not satisfied by the progress report of a candidate, the research advisory committee may recommend modification to the candidate. Such candidate has to successfully satisfy the necessary modifications before the research advisory committee, and repeatedly a PhD candidates fail to satisfy his or her progress report, the committee may recommend the cancellation of PhD registration of such candidates. So, proper involvement and maintenance and dedicated research work is very important here to be highlighted. Apart from this, in addition, there is a provision for 2 years extension in the form of re-registration with defined justification and approval of the competent authority of that particular higher education institution. Apart from this, again here the University Grants Commission also take case of the higher educational degrees taken by female candidates and candidates belonging to differently abled category who may be facing various challenges during the submit the PhD thesis. A candidate has to successfully complete the coursework prescribed by University Grants Commission. Here, when we are talking about the coursework, the University Grants Commission says minimum 12 credits coursework has to be completed by the PhD candidate, which also includes the coursework on the research and publication ethics dedicated of 2 credits, and the coursework should also cover the component of the research and methodology. In the coursework, the candidate has to obtain 55% of marks. At the time of submission, if any candidates who fails to obtain 55% marks are not eligible, are considered not eligible to submit the PhD thesis. Apart from this, UGC also take case that there should be standard quality maintenance in the PhD. To submit the PhD, the research scholar, he or she has to make a presentation before the research advisory committee. If the research advisory committee approves this, then only the candidate is eligible to prepare for the preparation of final draft of PhD thesis. This presentation will be open before the all faculty members, researchers and students too, where the research student has to defend his or her research work. Apart from this, it is also mandatory that all the higher educational institutions should have a mechanism of softwares to detect the plagiarism. Only 10% of similarity is allowed when the thesis is tested through the softwares for the plagiarism report. Beyond that, it is not allowed, and the particular research scholar has to submit the certification of the plagiarism report along with the certification of the supervisor for the originality of the work conducted for the submission of the thesis, and mentioning that this work has been not submitted to any other institution for award of any other kind of degree. Apart from this, the University Grants Commission also make it mandatory to upload the thesis submitted for the evaluation on the InflibNet after the successful evaluation and recommendation of degree for the award of PhD. Now coming to the evaluation procedure. The University Grants Commission says that a PhD thesis submitted by a PhD student must be evaluated by his or her supervisor. In addition, the thesis should be sent to minimum two subject experts from the outside institutions. The university or higher educational institutions have to also make effort, if possible, one thesis may be sent to the external subject expert outside the country. Now, when the thesis has been subjected to the evaluation by the external experts, if both the external experts recommend for the award of the thesis and conduct of the interview for the award of PhD degree, the higher educational institution has to conduct an open viva where all the faculty members, researchers and students may attend, where the student has to defend his or her PhD work in front of minimum one external expert who has evaluated his or her thesis. Means the external expert to whom the thesis has been sent for the evaluation, at least one external expert has to be called in the interview or viva voce for the award of PhD degree. When supervisor, external expert certifies that he or she has successfully defended his or her work for the award of PhD degree, based on that recommendation only, the PhD will be awarded to the candidate. Apart from this, there is one more important aspect of the evaluation procedure. If one of the external experts is not satisfied with the work done by the candidate and recommended the modifications in the thesis, then within a stipulated time period, the candidate has to submit the revised thesis, which will be again sent to that particular external expert for the evaluation. If again that external expert is not satisfied and rejects the thesis, the higher educational institution has to send such thesis to the alternative external subject expert for the evaluation, who are from the approved panel for the evaluation of same thesis. And here, if again this alternate external subject expert also rejects the PhD thesis, then the registration of that particular PhD candidate shall be cancelled and he or she will fail to obtain a PhD degree. Here we can see that the University Grants Commission has taken most of the care to maintain the quality standards of a PhD degree. Apart from this, the University Grants Commission also provides funding to the JRF candidates to pursue the PhD degree, 2 years junior research fellowship, and then if successfully recommended for the upgradation of JRF, 3 years SRF, 3 years senior research fellowship with upgraded funding. Apart from this, they are also getting PhD students also get the HRA and contingency. The contingency will be given annually. It means that the University Grants Commission is taking all the quality measures, and they also suggest that any PhD student should be oriented in teaching pedagogy processes during their PhD. They should be also assigned 4 to 6 hours per weekly assignments like giving classroom teaching or handling the laboratories of the UG/PG students, or they may also provide the assistantship to the supervisor in evaluation processes. So with this, I think that I hope I covered the measures taken by the University Grants Commission to maintain the quality standards of the PhD degree, also taking care of the inclusiveness of the marginalized section of the candidates like SC, ST, OBC, EWS, differently able candidates. Apart from that, the UGC has also taken the care to socially commit for the upliftment of the women candidates through the special provisions of the leave like maternity and child care leave and special extension of additional 2 years. Apart from this, the University Grants Commission also makes a provision for the transfer of data of PhD of a female candidate due to her marriage or otherwise where she is shifting her location. About this, if we want to talk in detail, it will take a time. However, I think I have covered most of the provisions of the UGC regulations, and here I will thank you all for a patient listening. Thank you one and all.